All right, everyone, it's just about 6:30, so we can get started. The first pose of the day is going to be Supta Baddha Konasana, or bound angle pose. And if you'd like to start the playlist now, or even just use a different previous playlist, it's completely up to you. Remember, if you don't mind, just keeping your mics on mute during the class. So we'll start, soles of the feet touching together. I'll face you so it's a little bit easier. Hips open, laying flat on the mat. Maybe hands on hips. Working on our breath. Maybe deep inhales in through the nose and out. Another type of breath I usually like to offer to start a class, often referred to as rescue breathing, can be the exhales slower than the inhales. So if you'd like to try it to your own count of 4, you can start with the inhale and exhale to your count of 8. If you like that variation, you can continue doing so. It's really helpful when trying to learn how to control your breath. And slowly we'll make our way so the soles of the feet touch down on the mat. And we're going to come into a bridge pose. So we're going to lift and drive through the hips. And if you'd like to add a little extra, maybe interlace the fingers underneath you. And open your chest or your heart up to the sky. Remember really to drive through the hips, pressing through the feet. And just notice how this lands in your body. Especially during these times where we're doing a lot of work from home or binge watching a lot of Netflix. I'm certainly guilty of that. It's a great pose I almost like to take daily. We usually get really tight hips from sitting down often. And we can slowly lower the hips. And with the feet still on the ground, with our tailbone on the mat, just imagine your pelvis like a bowl. We're just going to tip the bowl toward and away. Just being gentle on our pelvis. We're just starting the class. Maybe working with breath. Maybe our eyes are still shut from the beginning of class or heavy. And finding some stillness. And coming around and making our way into tabletop position. Remembering to stack our joint systems here, shoulders over wrists, knees maybe about as wide as our hips, maybe a little wider if that's more comfortable for you. And taking a peek behind, make sure you can't see your big toes so your heels are in line with your knees. We're going to warm up the obliques a little bit and do some heart opening. We're going to do some thread the needle, as it's called. I'm going to start with an inhale and reach my right hand to the sky. I'm going to thread the needle, placing my head down on the mat, either reaching my left hand to the front of my mat or to my lower back. Really opening my chest to the left side of the room. Really feeling and noticing and being conscious of our twisting muscles here, our obliques. Should really feel that on the right side. Here for a couple more breaths. Using the left hand to place it on the mat. Reaching up that right arm again, placing it down on the mat and switching sides. Inhale the left arm up and thread the needle. And the right hand, either reaching for the front of the mat or the lower back. Here for a couple more breaths. Placing the right hand back down on the mat, reaching the left arm to the sky. And placing it down on the mat. Returning to tabletop position. We're going to warm up the spine and a little bit more of the core in the front here with some cat and cow tilts. I'm going to start by inhaling, letting the belly hang soft. As I exhale, I'm going to round the upper back. Then pull belly button back to spine here, Uddiyana Bandha feel. Transitioning between the two poses at your own pace. Taking what you need through the pose. Finding coming into a neutral spine position. Tucking the toes under. We're going to come into the first downward facing dog of the practice. Remember, this is just the first time we're going into downward facing dog. Just want a slight bend in your knee. Your hamstrings a little tight. Feel free to do so. Press away with your hands. Zip up through your core. Maybe pedal out your heels. Wag your tail. Just take what you need from the poses we're just starting to practice. You're gripping the fingertips onto the mat. Nice strong shoulders here. Walking feet to hands. Hanging in a forward fold of your choice. Maybe that's ragdoll. Maybe it's hand behind cats, whatever you'd like to do. If you are taking ragdoll, if you'd like, you can rest your ribs right on your thighs or your quadriceps. Really important to let that head hang really heavy in this pose. Maybe nod your head side to side, up and down. Create circles. Just anything you need to let the tension fall out of your neck and fall out of your head. Pressing through the feet, inhaling, reaching and rising to our extended mountain. Hands through heart center, hinging at the hips, we forward fold. Zipping up through the core, using our Uddiyana Bandha to lift into halfway lift. Maybe either fingertips on the mat or hands on the shins. Whatever you do, have a nice neutral spine. Pulling your shoulders away from your ears, opening your heart to the mat. Exhale and forward fold. We'll do a couple more half salutations. Press through the feet. Inhale, reach and rise. Hinge at the hips, forward fold. Zip up through the abdominals. Shoulders away from ears, halfway lift. Hinging at the hips again, forward folding. One more time, press through the feet. Inhale, reach and rise. Exhale, forward fold. Zip up through the core, halfway lift. Bring our hands down into the mat. We're coming to a high plank. You can do that with your knees up or down at any point in the practice. And before chaturanga, we're going to push forward, hugging the elbows to the sides to be lower. Inhale the back bend, you press through the tops of the feet. Curling back on the toes, pressing away into our downward facing dog. This is our first full sun salutation, so we'll go through that again. Walking or hopping, feet to hands. Inhale the halfway lift. Remember the same cues as before. Belly button to spine, creating length in the spine as well, reaching the crown of the head to the front of the room, shoulders away from ears. Exhale, forward fold. Press through the feet, reach and rise. Hinge at the hips, forward fold. Inhale the halfway lift. Hands to the mat. Coming into our high plank. Pushing forward. Hugging elbows to the sides as we lower. Inhale, back bend. Shoulders away from ears, right? Going back on the toes, pressing away with our hands down, facing dog. Awesome, very good, everyone. So we're going to move on to sun salutation B and just add a few more poses to our salutation flow. We'll start with walk or hop, feet to hands. Inhale, halfway lift. And as we exhale, we're going to sit back into our chair pose. Now, interest, hopefully no one did legs yesterday. While we're in chair pose, as much as you can, try to stack your knees over your ankles. See if that means coming out of your seat a little bit. Maybe you can pick up your toes off the mat. You're strong, right? If you feel like you have any bowing in your lower back, use your Uddiyana Bandha. And forward fold. Pressing through the feet. Inhale, reach and rise. Hinging into hips, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Hands to the mat. Coming through our vinyasa. Remember, at any point in the practice, if you want to skip the chaturanga, you can just meet us in downward facing dog. And stay nice and strong, rooted to the mat here from your feet, pushing through your hands. Keeping our core engaged, we've been keeping our Uddiyana Bandha in here, I always do. Lifting the right foot in the air, come into our three-legged dog. Just open the hip for a second. Playing with that. Slowly straighten out the foot. Switching sides. Press through that left side. Open the hip. And back through our downward facing dog. Back to three-legged dog on the right side. Stepping the right foot to the front of the mat. Coming into our warrior one. Remember our warrior one, remember hips square to the front of the room, knee right over ankle. With warrior one arms here, and pressing through the bottoms of both feet. Inhaling, reaching through the fingertips, hands to the mat. And we're going to vinyasa to the other side. Pushing forward, hugging the sides in. Inhaling our back bend. Pressing away, downward facing dog. Left leg, three-legged dog. Step to the front of the mat. Coming into our warrior one. And same cues as before. Square hips. Knee over ankle. Back foot can be at a slight angle, so I like to keep it at a 45-degree angle. Just whatever's comfortable in your hips. You can take a wider stance or a more narrow stance. You just don't need that heel-to-heel alignment in warrior two. Here for a couple breaths. Inhale, reach to the fingertips. Hands to the mat. Come through your flow. Walking or hopping feet to hands. Inhale, the halfway lift. Shoulders away from ears. Sitting back into our chair pose. Much I'm using the video to adjust as much as you can, shoulders over ankles. I'm sorry, not shoulders, knees over ankles. Wrong hinge joint there. And forward folding, hinging at the hips. Pressing through the feet, reach and rise. You guys know the drill. Exhale, forward fold. Up through the core, creating length in the spine, halfway lift. Hands to the mat, coming through our vinyasa or meeting us in downward facing dog. Adding a bit of core to the flow. I want this to be a full power class, but I do like a lot of power motions. And I inhale the right leg, a three-legged dog. I'm going to do what's known as a tiger stretch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my right knee to my right elbow and hover. Just hold here for a second. Press through that back heel. Lower down to the mat. Switching sides, left leg, three-legged dog. Knee to elbow. Hover. Stay nice and strong here. Press through the foot and lower it. Switching sides again, right leg, three-legged dog. Step it to the front of the mat. Coming into our warrior one. Here for a breath. Inhale, reach to your fingertips. Hands to the mat. Come through your flow. Left leg, three-legged dog. Step it to the front of the mat. Press through your feet. Square your hips. Warrior one. Inhale, reach to your fingertips. Hands to the mat. Coming through our flow. Awesome. Hovering over into a high plank. We're going to do a couple side planks here. So side plank's a little difficult for you. You lower your left leg down to the mat, almost like a kickstand. And line up your heel with your knee and your hand in the center of the mat. And just kind of come up like this. And I'd call that like level one of the pose. Slightly more difficult version. It's both legs out as you come with the pose. One up further would be lifting that top foot. And one up further than that, which I haven't done since my certification training, is grabbing the big toe and stretching it out. So you can do that, God bless you. Here for a couple breaths. Coming back into our high plank. If you really want to come through your vinyasa flow, and meet us in downward facing dog. I'm just going to switch sides so y'all can see me. I don't like facing away from the camera. Coming back into our high plank. Again, this time would be the right leg down for a kickstand as we come to our side plank. Otherwise, turn to the right of the mat. Staying here or lifting up that top foot. Almost like a five-pointed star. And with our breath, the tough balance pose. Slowly coming out. Going high through low push-up. Inhale the back bend. Pressing away, downward facing dog. Great job, everyone. If you want to take a quick child's pose, feel free to do so. You can grab a sip of water. Remember, excuse me. Remember, at any point in the practice, if you want to take a rest, child's pose is a great place to reset. And if you took your child's pose, you're going to come through tabletop and back to downward facing dog. Remember, right leg and three-legged dog. Stepping to the front of the mat. This time we're going to do a crescent lunge. So the only difference with crescent lunge and warrior one is that my heel is right over the ball of my foot, if you can see that. Coming with warrior one arms. Inhale, hands to heart center. And a twist to the right side. Option to stay here, open your twist, or reach for the mat or a block. Your gaze is either to the ceiling of your thumb or right to the front of your mat, whatever's more comfortable in your neck. Slowly lowering both hands. Frame the front foot. We're going to push off our back foot on our left leg. We're going to push off to the front of the mat. We're going to sit back into a chair pose. Personally, I like using a block a lot, and I also do chair pose facing you. I like doing chair pose a lot in a block because we're about to do chair twist. So we'll start with chair pose here. Hands to heart center and twist to the right side. But sometimes in chairs, you twist. You have one knee kind of pop out more than the other. You really don't want to do that. If you like to use a block, you can keep the block squeezed the whole time between your legs. You really don't have to worry about it. Option to open your twist as well. Slowly coming out of the pose and hanging in a forward fold. Very good. We're going to sit back into our second chair pose now. Inhale, hands to heart center. Twist to the left side. Option to open your twist. Slowly coming out of the pose. And hanging a forward fold. Just for a second. You kind of crawl your hands up to the mat and bring the legs back, come into our plank pose. And either come into downward facing dog or come through your flow. Bringing our left leg up in three-legged dog. Stepping to the front of the mat. Coming into crescent lunge on the left side just to even out from before. Inhale, hands to heart center. Twist to the left. If you feel like your body's sinking into that left leg, press through that tricep right against your quad. Nice and strong with this pose. Option to open your twist. Both hands to the mat. And coming through your flow, or meeting in downward facing dog. Walking or hopping feet to hands. We're going to stay in a nice squatted position here. Come into a malasana, or a deep yogi squat. Either elbows pressing against knees here, or open. An option to stay here, or a great challenge pose from here is crow pose. If you've never taken crow before, I'm just going to move my black mat here is way more slippy than my gray mat. So if you've never done crow pose before, it's an arm balance. Keep our hands flat on the mat. Our knees are on our triceps. We tip over and touch the soles of our feet together. If you feel like you're going to fall on the top of your head. And it's actually a great transition to headstands there as well, but we won't do that today. So, if you have a little bit of difficulty coming into crow pose, just kind of practice coming into it a little bit. Placing your hands on the mat, just kind of gently rocking into it. And then before you know it, maybe this class or next, you can come right into the pose. For a lot of it, just getting a good feel for coming into the pose. We really never hurt ourselves in the pose, usually coming out or rather, we don't hurt ourselves in the pose, it's going into the pose or coming out of the pose. I'm going to try that for a second, and we'll all meet back in Malasana. Pressing through the feet. Inhale, reach and rise, and hands back to heart center. We'll do a couple balance poses now. We're going to start with tree pose with both feet placed on the mat. We're going to tent the right foot to start. Even to keep your foot tented, below or above the knee joint, just don't press against the knee joint. Feel good and comfortable, bring your hands to heart center or grow your branches. A great way, if you're having a little bit of difficulty balancing here, a lot of it's about the amount of force you're applying with the standing foot and the planted foot. Make sure you got a good even amount of pressure of pressing your foot against your leg. But otherwise, you might see you do a little hip dip one way or the other. So find that nice whoop, find that nice middle ground. And we'll switch sides, maybe shake out your ankle a little bit in between. Look on the left side, just be wary of the same thing. Below or above the knee joint, and watch for that hip dip. Equal amount of pressure on both legs. Here for a couple of breaths, maybe look for a drishti if you're losing balance, or a good focal point. And lower the leg. Awesome, great job everyone. Let's come into a standing leg raise now. So I'm going to start with my left foot planted on the mat. I'm going to bring up my right knee. You have an option to stay here or open up the rest, kind of like Captain Morgan. I think we all had kind of rough nights with the captain in high school and college, right? So if you really want to go for it now, use your yogi peace fingers, your first two fingers. Open the right leg. Maybe bring the foot out in front of you. Come into victory pose. Arms in a V. Looking at the pointed toe in front of you. You're coming into airplane. Opening your heart to the front of the room. Maybe squeezing your rhomboids in your back. Don't worry about the little bit of turbulence. And plant the foot. You shake out your ankles, give them some love. We'll switch to the opposite side. Right foot planted on the mat. Left leg up. Option to stay here, or to stay with the captain here, or grab your big toe. Slowly and control, bring the foot out in front of you. Victory pose. Drive through the left heel. Open your heart up to the front of the room. Squeeze the rhomboids in your back together. And slowly lower the foot. Shake out the ankles. All right, keep an eye on the time here. All right, enough balance. We're going to add a little more balance. Inhale, reach and rise. Exhale, forward fold. Come back in the flow now. Inhale into our halfway lift. Hands to the mat. Coming through our high to low push-up. Inhaling the back bend. Pressing away, downward facing dog. Coming into a three-legged dog on the right side. Stepping the right foot to the front of the mat. Coming into our crescent lunge. If you have blocks and not ready at the top of your mat, you might want to do so, because we're going to come to half moon in a little bit. We'll start in a crescent lunge. And we're going to open up into our warrior two. First, I like using the back edges of the mat to do so, the side edges of the mat to do so. Kind of line up my feet. Try a nice heel to heel alignment like we're walking on a tightrope. Palms to the ceiling. Inhale into our reverse warrior. Coming through warrior two. Forearm to quadricep, coming into our extended side angle. Adding a bit more core if you want to lift up that bottom hand. Press through the feet, back to warrior two. Slowly, just about straighten out, maybe slight bend in your front knee. And pull to the front of the room like someone's grabbing your wrist. Lowering the fingertips down to the mat. Coming into our triangle pose. And if it's a little difficulty to reach your fingertips, you just have a block behind you. Press through the block. Here for a couple more breaths. Then the left hand to the mat. Or a block, if you need to bring it up. Coming into our twisted triangle. Get those obliques involved. Slowly lowering both hands to frame the front foot. Press through the feet. Back into warrior two. And if you like, you can stay into your warrior two or press off the back foot. We're going to come into our half moon. Remember our half moon really driving through that back ankle. And we're opening our chest to the side of the room. It's a little difficult for me in this direction. I can't really see myself in the webcam. Usually I have mirrors in my studio. We should really get a sense of where your feet are. If you look behind you, you just about see your big toe. And slowly, carefully coming back down to our warrior two. Cartwheel our hands to the mat. Then we're going to switch sides. Either coming through our vinyasa first, or right into downward facing dog. Let's just switch my block to the opposite side of the mat. Left leg, three-legged dog. Step to the front of the mat. Coming to our crescent lunge. Here for just a breath, opening our hips. Coming into our warrior two. Palms to the ceiling, inhale, reverse side warrior. Exhale, come through our warrior two. Forearm to quadricep. Open. Extended side angle. Almost like we're trying to stack shoulder joints as much as we can. Adding a little bit more core. Picking up both hands. Pressing through our feet. Nice and strong into our warrior two. Having a slight bend in our front knee. Come to our triangle, pulling from the wrist. A good alignment here, hand to hand. Or again, using that block behind us. It's whatever's comfortable in your shoulders, your hips. Speaking of hips, making sure that front hip is nice and tucked in. So the best way to avoid that hip sticking out is make sure the knee and the foot's nice and parallel to the back edge of the mat. Option to stay here, or reach right hand to the mat. And fire up those obliques, twisted triangle. Pressing through the feet, back into our warrior two. Option to stay here, or press off, or keeping the front foot planted. Press through that back foot. Coming into our half moon. And really pressing through that heel. Just be nice and in line with your hip. And here for a few breaths. Slowly and controlled, lowering back into our warrior two. Cartwheeling our hands to the mat. Coming through our flow. Or meeting in downward facing dog. Hovering over in a high plank. Slowly lowering until we're completely flat on the mat. It's one of my favorite yoga poses of the class. All right, coming to our locust pose now. Let me keep my arms behind me, but there's plenty of options here. If you want to have like cactus arms or skydiver, you can do that too. That's more if you want to get some extra upper back. I really want to hit the lower back today. So I'm going to keep my hands behind me. And to really emphasize that lower back, I'm going to touch my two big toes together. If you have any pain there and in the lower lumbar spine, kind of open up your legs behind you. So coming into the pose, deep inhale. Go through each breath, we come up higher off the mat. And slowly lowering. And for a couple breaths, we're going to come into the pose again. Deep inhale, locust pose. And slowly lower to the mat. Pressing through the hands, coming on our knees now. I'm going to do a little bit of camel. First, I like to cue camel one side at a time, just because I think I get into camel, I don't know if I can get out of it. So if you can do full camel, feel free to do it the entire duration, or do two. Otherwise, if you want to do half camel, just follow my lead. So by inhaling my left arm up, I'm going to reach my right hand, my right ankle. But to do the back bend, I'm not just going to lower here from the knee. I'm really going to create length in my hip flexors. I'm going to push through my hips as I lower. And you'll really feel that extra back bend. Slowly and carefully come out of the pose. Now the switch sides, you're coming to your second full camel. Inhale, reach my right arm up. Reach my left hand to my left ankle. Pressing through my hips so far in the room. Slowly coming out of our camel. Lying flat on the mat. I'm going to windshield wiper my feet back and forth. And just get that nice lower back relief, especially after all that back bending. Finding stillness. Pressing the hands against the mat, curling up in the toes. Coming into our downward facing dog. So I'm going to face the mat. For this, I'm going to come into pigeon pose now, if y'all would. And if pigeon's a little difficult, you can always just kind of make a figure four on your back. And you pigeon that and do pigeon on your back. And otherwise, if you do regular pigeon, we'll start on the right side, three-legged dog. I'm going to bring my leg out in front of me. But I'm going to keep my left heel kind of tucked in. I see a lot of people that do it this way. And if that's more comfortable, you feel free. I feel like it's a lot of extra pressure on the knee joint because the knee really doesn't bend too much that way. So I'm going to keep it nice and tucked in. It's my personal preference. I'll start by pressing through my fingertips and puffing out my chest like a proud pigeon, I like to call it. Just notice how it lands in your hips. On your left side, your hip flexors are creating length, and you're contracting your hip extenders in your glute. And on this side, on the right side, your hip flexors are closed, and you're stretching your glute. Let me push back in the seat and slowly lower over the front leg. Bringing the hands to the mat. Bring that proud pigeon first. Curling up on the left foot, not on the ball of your foot. Pressing that right leg through. Landing it on the mat. And switching sides, left leg three-legged dog. Bringing the left leg out in front of you, pointing the toe behind you on the right side. And again, trying to create that proud pigeon first. And the same sensations here. On the right side, the hip flexor is creating length, and we're squeezing our seat, squeezing our glute. On the left side, our hip flexor is closed, and we're stretching the glute. Once we're back in our seat enough, we get a good stretch there, and lower over the front leg. And if you're in your full pigeon, we're going to make our way to a seated position. So I'm going to kind of sit back on my left side. I'm going to bring my right leg up and around. Transition out of that. And extend both legs out in front of me. Or if that feels comfortable in your hips, just make your way here as comfortable as you can. Do a seated forward fold from here. So start off in staff pose. Reaching the arms up. Pulling belly button back to spine using our Uddiyana Bandha. Deep inhale here. Forward folding over our front legs. And the important thing I like to mention in this pose, this isn't just a hamstring stretch, it's about spinal extension as well. So like kind of how I am here, if you feel like your ears, and I'll face side here, feel your ears are really close to your shoulders, pull away, create length, pull through the crown of the head to the front of the room. If it's a little tight for you, you can always have a slight bend in your knee. Wrap your arms underneath. And lying flat on our backs. Coming to Viparita Karani, or feet to ceiling pose. To do that, I'm going to create a diamond shape just to give my tailbone some relief. Tuck down underneath my tailbone. I'm going to bring feet to ceiling. Keeping our hip flexors nice and closed here. Pushing through the tops of our feet. Feel our core engaged here. Here for a couple breaths. Lowering the right leg. Bringing the left knee in. We're going to come into a spinal twist. I'm going to bring my left leg across my body here. I'm going to press away with my right hand, almost like a dish towel, wring out to the opposite side. You feel a great stretch here in your glute. Either extending the left arm away from you, or maybe coming up on the fingertips, kind of pushing, encouraging a deeper stretch. And we're looking away from the side where we're twisting our legs towards. Then switching sides. So I'll bring my right leg to my chest. Right leg across my body. And either my right arm extended here. You get that extra good pectoral stretch here. Maybe that's like a chest day or something to be a great position to put your body. Or coming up on your fingertips. Encouraging that deeper stretch. And again, looking the opposite way you're twisting. And ending the class, making our way into Savasana, or corpse pose. As Tina always says, the most mental pose of all. But if there's another pose calling to you, right now, before you'd like to come into Savasana, please feel free to go to it. Palms to the ceiling. Eyes heavier shut or coming into that other pose that you was in the class in. Just acknowledging yourself for the amazing bodies we have and what we can do with them. Let's take it something positive from our practice today. Maybe a pose that we did a little better than we usually do, or just it being a difficult day and just making our way to the mat. That's an accomplishment too. Staying with our breath as we unwind. And making our way to a comfortable seated position. I want to thank everyone for spending their Thursday night with me. And sorry if you're expecting Tina, but surprise, here's a sub. Thank you, everyone, again, for taking my class. And have a wonderful rest of your evening. The donation information, if you would like to donate, is in the Zoom chat. So thank you, everyone, again. We're hands to heart center. Bow and say namaste. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, Brandon.
No problem.